Welcome to London Polished Concrete's very own podcast, where we'll be discussing everything from the economy, construction, to flooring and everything else in between. I'm Hassam Salim Mir, Director of Business Development here, and I'll be joined with my co-host, Tahir Akram, who's Managing Director of the business, but also the Director of London Urban, a sister company. In our very first episode, we'll be discussing everything from economic trends of 2024, the uncertainties facing businesses within the construction industry and how to weather them, as well as taking questions from our dedicated subscribers. I hope you enjoy the show. Here's the episode. Tahir, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks for doing this. I think this is a really great idea. So well done.
I think we can share a lot of the sort of knowledge, experience, and sort of insights we have within the industry and being in the game with everyone out there. So I think that this will really help a lot of people. Give us a bit of your background and where you've come from, what you've done.
So my background is I started off when I left university was with a degree in mechanical engineering, and I went into management consultancy, worked overseas for a few years, and then I came back to London early 2000 and got involved in properties. And after the financial crisis 2007-2008, I ventured into more construction. I worked on various construction projects in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, and seeing how these large operations worked, I saw and felt there was an opportunity to deliver, in terms of service and quality and management and oversight of projects back here in the UK. The construction sector generally has had a very bad reputation, and where there's bad reputation, I guess, is opportunity. So to deliver something closer to what people's expectations are in terms of both service and standards. So I set up a construction company. We've been working and delivering various high-end residential projects, and then while that's been going on, I set up London Polished Concrete, and over the years we've been delivering some great quality projects in and around London.
And just to clarify, the construction company you're talking about is the sort of sister company that we have called London Urban, right?
Correct.
So I have to ask this question. London Polished Concrete, I get it. We're in London, we do polished concrete products. Where did your inspiration for the name London Urban come from?
Well, I can only really give that to my wife, really. She was the one who came up with various names, and London Urban was kind of a trendy, but also, we're London centric as far as our projects are concerned. And it's a name that is easily identifiable, and something that we felt represented the kind of quality and connection with our clients who are looking for a high quality service.
Fantastic. I mean, I think quality is the sort of USP within our business, isn't it? And that's how we define ourselves. We take our customers through that journey, we hold their hands and give them that sort of quality input. It's not just about saying, yeah, we're good quality, we provide quality service. We actually demonstrate it through what we do. So let's get down to business. Construction trends for 2024. Now, there's been a lot of doom and gloom in the news about sort of subcontractors going bust, sort of main contractors even going bust, and construction industry being in a difficult situation given sort of inflation and interest rates and things like that. But then practically in London anyway, I feel like we're quite sort of insulated. There are projects going on. Even new projects are even starting up at the moment too. So what's your take on this sort of state of the construction industry at the moment in London and generally wider in the UK? And how about flooring side of things? And what trends are you seeing?
So, I mean, the construction sector has taken a hit, right? And there are numerous factors, as you've already mentioned: inflation, interest rates over the last 12-18 months have been massively affecting affordability for people to spend and buy properties at the prices that they're at nowadays, particularly in London and the southeast. So all of those factors are affecting construction. Material costs have gone up, labour costs have gone up. Brexit hasn't helped. There's been somewhere in the region of 800,000 odd people that have left London and the southeast, which is, or particularly around the greater London area, which is, nearly a tenth of the population. So it's a significant amount gone back to Europe. And Europe, as we all know, there were plenty of Europeans who came here with excellent skill sets in terms of construction experience and abilities. So there's there's a skill shortage here, and coupled with all the other underlying economic headwinds that we're facing, construction is suffering. But there's always silver linings, right? In these kind of scenarios, it gives us all in this particular sector a chance to sort of navel gaze somewhat, look at where we can develop, where the new avenues are. So there's very much a massive sort of gear towards sustainability, as we all know about, working with products that are far more environmentally friendly than they are or have been. There's a very big push around insulating our homes far more. And, in terms of construction projects, you're required to adhere to far more tighter, for example, heat loss controls from that perspective. And then even things like technology, when projects are being delivered, the use in technology in our sector is certainly improving. And with AI, stepping into the foray, I think, that will also play another massive part in improving the way that we work. So it's not. I think the way that the sector is evolving is not just about, whether you're good with a hammer and a screwdriver. It's also about how you plan and execute and deliver and cost control these projects. So there's loads of opportunities, and it's something which I am massively involved in and getting more involved in now, actually. So yeah.
Perfect, fantastic. I mean, if we show the viewers, like, this, just the news that's going around at the moment, it seems to be that at the moment, construction, they're saying 2023 was a bumpy sort of year. Now construction has sort of, in 2024 construction, there will be some stability in construction. But I guess that's, like you mentioned, there's a lot of different factors at play here, and a lot of different things need to be stabilized. But it seems like 2024 is the year where construction, it'll be less challenging year for construction. Things will go up, and I guess that's in part by sort of the trends towards the interest rates and Bank of England. I mean, I was reading just this morning that inflation rate has sort of dropped to 4%, and food inflation is going down. So Bank of England, I'm sure, are sort of looking at that data very closely.
Yeah.
With respect to
there would be, and I think we're in an election year, right? So there's going to be more pressure, especially with interest rates where they are, to be pushed down. And the economic indicators are heading that way. So there is, during these times, you've got to just ride. You've got to ride this period. If you're struggling, and if you're not, then happy days. But during these kind of headwinds, you do have to sort of batten down the hatches and just fight through. And then once you're through the other side, make the most of the opportunities as they start coming in.
So if we particularly look at the sort of London versus rest of the UK divide, what, in your opinion, would you say would be the thing that's insulating sort of London? Of course, you alluded to the trends of labor shortages. Obviously, with labor shortages, the sort of command, the price sort of superiority that people command will be higher. Of course, demand and supply, right? But how is London, in your opinion, insulated from the rest of the UK? I've got people up north who are saying, we're not getting any, so clients aren't signing off on any new orders. And where we've not had any new orders in the past 6 to 8 months, and it's quite tough. What's insulating us versus like the rest of the UK?
Well, London's got a lot of economic drivers. It produces somewhere in the region of 20 or 25% of the total economy of the UK, just London alone. So it's, there's still money being spent. There are still areas that are being developed. People said that Canary Wharf was going to be a complete, disaster, and look at where that is now. So London is somewhat, as you say, insulated to some degree. We've got the City of London, we've got the stock market, the banks are still doing well. So, you've got numerous airports around the city. All of these factors bring income to the area, as well as it's the capital city and it's grown, right? It's 9 odd million people here, so it makes it, we're fortunate, I would say, compared to other parts of the country, and especially where government funding has somewhat tightened. That divide does increase, sadly. So what we need is a good government in place, a set of professionals that are able to actually work with what we've got, create a vision and plan for that, and make it a fairer society for all of us throughout. There's plenty of money out there.
Absolutely, I think you'd be a very good prime minister, and you definitely have my vote, to be honest, if you do run for the election.
Oh God! All right.
Fantastic.
Well, I'll wait to see you down the polling booth.
Huh?
I'll wait to see you down the polling booth.
No, 100%. Me, I'll be there, and my whole family will be there. We'll definitely vote for you. With regards to, okay, so let's move on to sort of we've talked about the north and the rest of UK versus London divide and economic sort of trends. What about the survival strategies? I mean, you run 2 businesses. You run London Urban, which is your sort of construction business. You've got London Polished Concrete, where we do sort of flooring. How would you say, how should businesses weather this sort of period? There is a big thing around cash flow. I think a lot of the bigger businesses, the bigger contractors who have that sort of cash flow, had that sort of contracts, had these big contracts, they're weathering this out comparison to smaller ones who just run out of money and have to close shop. What's your take on it? What would you say would be the best sort of top 3 survival strategies?
I mean, cash flow is king, right? And when you're in construction, cash flow goes up and down like a yo-yo, right? So managing cash flow is really critical. You've got to be disciplined, right? And spend in the right areas. I mean, we're quite often what happens during these periods, people often sort of cut back on everything and just as I said earlier, batten down the hatches. But I think during these kind of periods, it's important to advertise if you can. There's loads of ways and avenues to advertise at a fairly low cost now. People need to know that you exist, so it's important to get out there and make yourself known. And just keep innovating. Don't give up. At the end of the day, it will change. Life changes, things will change, circumstances will change, the economy will change. The markets will improve. But in terms of, like, as I say, there is a mental side to it, which is just maintaining a sense of calm and, as I say, control, discipline, and managing your cash flow, which is super critical. So forward plan around all of these elements.
I think there's also an element of switching up business strategies. I mean, with what I've seen recently is a lot of these smaller contractors, when they're not getting these big sort of contracts, right? They're now focusing on smaller households, the end users, and they're trying to pitch their businesses more to them. Now their margins will shrink, of course, because individual households don't have that sort of money to play with that these big main contractors do.
Yeah.
But they're going by volume now, so it's all about the volume for those guys. So I guess there's
Well, look, I mean, you've seen it in the flooring, in the polished concrete flooring sector, where costs have gone up, material costs have gone up, import export costs. A lot of our suppliers, as you know, are in Europe. The suppliers here, it's hard to say really in terms of quality, but we've got a very good supply chain in terms of quality over in Europe, and that needs to, from our point of view, that's something that we want to maintain. But you've seen how costs have gone up, right? Material costs, tooling costs, labor costs, all of these factors have increased, and that ultimately means the cost to the client has to be passed up to the client, right? And then that typically our clients in London Polished Concrete are main contractors or homeowners, and so where costs have gone up significantly, I'm talking like 20, 30, 40% even over the past couple of years. That's a big hit, and it is tougher for people to purchase, as you've seen, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and like you mentioned, I think it's changing our business strategies. It's cash flow. It's planning and sort of forward thinking. And like you alluded to before, in terms of construction trends, it's a technological side, and it's just looking at different sort of avenues in which you can make money and provide a sort of a good quality value-added service to people.
Yeah, listen, you've got to look at your skill sets, right? And if you're able to use that skill, for example, a lot of our guys on our micro cement crews their backgrounds have been plastering, right? And it's not the same kind of process, but the skill set and the physical makeup of the individuals gives them a real good head start. Working with materials that are wet materials, mixing, prepping, all this kind of side of things. You can diversify. There are opportunities to not just be stuck, particularly nowadays with the various finishes that are required. For example, the various construction requirements. You can be a plumber, but you can be a plumber and have other skills, for example. So don't feel that you're just stuck in a particular lane. There's opportunities elsewhere.
Absolutely. And I think it's just continuing with that sort of momentum, that rhythm, that sort of discipline that'll help these businesses get through this tough period, and it will end. I mean, when interest rates do slowly start to come down, and starts to come down. Sure. Just like in 2008, everyone was saying it's the end of the world. Construction's gone.
It was for a lot of people. I mean, that was tough, right?
Yeah,
it was very tough.
But then it poses new opportunities. As entrepreneurs, you're always looking out for new opportunities. When one thing ends, something else starts, or you continue with what you have and you just innovate into something different. So I got you a couple of questions from a couple of our dedicated sort of subscribers. Obviously, we've not done podcasting before, but these subscribers are basically subscribers of our newsletters and sort of they follow us with our blog posts and things like that. So I've got a couple of questions for you. We'll start with this. I've picked these ones particularly out because they are from different sort of professions. I mean, I'll show you. We've got one from a subcontractor. So let me show you these questions. Right. So the top question is, we'll start from the top. We've got a question from Simon in Manchester, who's a small flooring subcontractor.
Hello, Simon.
Sorry?
Hello, Simon.
Oh, hello. Yeah, hi, Simon. Hi, Simon. Yeah. He says, as a small business owner in the construction industry, I'm curious to know what strategies have you personally found most effective for navigating economic uncertainties and market fluctuations, ensuring the growth and stability of your business. He's saying orders have slowed down for him, like I alluded to previously, and projects from last year that were approved are being delivered in this quarter. So I think he's understanding
I
what
think
sort of
we covered quite a few. I think we covered quite a few points on that. I mean, things like looking at your margins, which you said, which were quite right. Maybe you may not make as much, but you can make enough to keep going until things change. Um, Negotiating with your suppliers, seeing what else is out there in terms of the market that could be delivered. There's always new technology and new innovation that's being brought into the sector. I mean, I was at a property show, a construction show in London only a month or so ago, and there are some fantastic new materials that are coming out, which you've got to explore, and finding a bit of time will actually support you in terms of giving you some inspiration, right? When as we know, I don't know if you heard of it, I'm sure you have, the definition of insanity, it will drive you mad trying to do the same thing over and over again. So it is at these times which, especially when you get the same result, right? These are the times when you've got to innovate and be creative, be brave, be bold.
innovate, change, adapt, go down that cycle,
Yeah.
keep iterating, I guess, until you find that sweet spot that works in that given sort of economic
Yeah.
climate.
Good luck, Simon.
Yeah, good luck. Definitely good luck, Simon. We've got a question from Giovanni, who's a restaurant chain owner. He's basically said, as a restaurant owner who wants to be more involved in the construction, design, and delivery process. So this is more client side now we're talking. What key traits should I prioritize when selecting subcontractors, particularly for flooring, just beyond pricing? I've had negative experiences in the past with main contractors ensuring the works match my design and aesthetic requirements. So I want to ensure I choose subcontractors who are reliable, skilled, aligned with my vision for the restaurant space. What quality should I be looking at? I think what Giovanni is alluding, he previously I think contracted with a main contractor who put out the packages to the subbies, but he wants to take a more sort of hands-on approach and wants to sort of put the packages out himself. And I think he's doing everything himself now. He wants to understand what sort of qualities you should look out for other than pricing points. Because in our industry, people when someone puts a tender out, they try and cut each other out through sort of pricing. What would you say in the flooring arena, especially polished concrete and this stuff? What would you look for?
Especially at this time, it's the price. The price is a really important factor. So you've got to really feel comfortable that the team that you're going to choose really lines up with what your vision is. And that's actually probably to some extent, if you're talking only a few pounds per square meter difference, that's something worth buying into and making sure that feels comfortable, right? Because the truth is, when it comes to polished concrete, typically, the reality is always not quite, how can I put it? The reality is not always what the client expects, because it's whether it's a color, whether it's a shade, whether it's an effect, there's always the mind's eye, and there's always the perfect picture that you have in your mind. But actually, it's so important to be realistic. So samples, for example, ask them to produce some samples, make sure that they are communicating an understanding of what your requirements are rather than what they are prepared to deliver, right? If they can't deliver it, then that's okay, right? I mean, you can walk away in that instance. Communication is really important as well, because if you're putting any construction project together, whoever's managing that project, you've got to make sure that in terms of the time allocation, the prep, any works that need to be done after, or if there is a period of time for curing and those kinds of things, all of that communication needs to tie in with your program. So an understanding of that project management element is really important. So it's not just about the delivery, it's not just about the finish, it's not just about the sample. The whole package has to work in order for them to feel, for Giovanni to feel, look, they're working with me rather than against me. And I've seen it over numerous times where people have gone onto site, and with it being a finishing product, typically the pressure to complete the job and the work, you can't take shortcuts. So it's really important to be to manage that in a structured way.
So I guess I'm hearing number one, order the product that you're going to be putting down. See what sort of product they offer if they're doing installation, but also supplying that. But number two, looking at communication, looking at whether they're listening to you and what your requirements are, and just seeing whether that level of communication is there with these, and they take a genuine interest rather than we'll do the job, we'll get it done, we'll be out with it. It's more about taking that consultative approach if they have that. All right, perfect. Lastly, we've got a question from Lucy, who's refurbishing a home. Now, I've picked this because I think, hey, Lucy, yeah. This is important because there's a lot of different micro cement products on the market, and a lot of end users are confused as to their different product, and they're very different to each other in terms of their durability, their qualities. But anyhow, Lucy is basically saying, I'm currently exploring options for a polished concrete floor. I'm drawn to the aesthetic of micro cement, but have concerns about its durability. I'm also considering the alternative 100mm concrete slab, which is we get a lot of inquiries about this too. Polished to achieve a similar matte type of look. What are the pros and cons of each option? I want to ensure that my choice not only aligns with my design preferences, but also meets my practical needs in terms of longevity and maintenance. What do you got to say with that? So it's 100 mils versus micro cement, and how does she ensure the durability of micro cement? And like I mentioned, there's a lot on the market at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, you've got to look, with any of these products, you've got to look at its application. You've got to look at where it can and can't be applied. You've got to look at its, there are aesthetic differences. 100 mil of concrete is going to be, in terms of strength and durability, like it will ultimately surpass a micro cement, which is only 2 to 3 millimeters thick, right? That's just basic sort of basic physics, really. So as I say, it's hard to answer that question until you know what circumstances that you're looking to fulfill. There are lots of micro cement products out there. Some of the products claim to perform to a certain level, but I think it's important to really understand and appreciate all of these products are only as good as the substrate that's installed, right? And the applicators and the people that are installing it, right? So, and the materials, right? So all three elements in that triangle are critical, right? So product, application, and the preparation. They're the three real key things. So so understanding where you want to apply the particular product and how you want to experience your space will determine what product to go for. So it's, you're talking about 98 millimeters difference in thickness of material, right? In terms of choosing. It's a very difficult question to answer in that sense. There would need to be more understanding required in terms of what Lucy's looking to try and achieve, I would say. So I can't really fully answer that question.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variables. I think there's things around sort of the material properties of say, let's say concrete versus micro cement. Concrete, even if you do put it down, there is a tendency for there to be some cracks, right? Even if you're grinding and polishing,
yeah, of course,
some cracks naturally will sort of come.
There could be cracks from movement, the quantity of water that the concrete is mixed with. It could be the ambient sort of temperatures that it was installed in. There's numerous factors that can affect cracking. So
yeah, and it's and I guess one thing I would say to Lucy, from my personal opinion as well, is if you really are concerned about the durability or these characteristics of the product, each product does have a sort of a data sheet that you can ask your installer to provide you, and that'll give you all that sort of information in terms of how much sort of weight it can take, density, etc., and you can then match it up to each other. Or alternatively, you can come to us and we'll give you a good product.
Well, I mean, jokes aside, I think it's really more about having that consultative approach, right? which is important to, as I say, understand what your needs are as a client, and providing options around the finish and the look and the feel and the pros and cons. And all of these products, as I say, fantastic, but there is wear and tear to consider, and some have better abilities than others.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's all we have time for today. Hopefully we'll be back next week with another sort of interesting topic, another interesting discussion, and in our following episodes we will be inviting guest speakers to come in from the property industry to construction, interior designers, marketing. So we've got a lot of things in store for our viewers. I hope you've all enjoyed this session with us, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at London Polished Concrete, on Facebook, London Polished Concrete, but also be sure to subscribe our channel on YouTube by clicking that bell icon below. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hassan. Take care.